One legacy of our recent past has been the change in the religious life of the country. Some people have dropped out, others have been born again, and millions have joined new religions. No one is sure just how many new religions there are. It could be as many as 3,000 groups with more than 3 million members. Many parents and a lot of ex-members of these groups claim they are not in fact religions, but cults, destructive cults that deceptively recruit members, practice techniques of mind control, and whose real aim is to get wealth and power for themselves. 26-year-old Bill Malik is a member of a California church that many consider a cult. He's been in it for 3 years since he graduated from college. He agreed to talk on the condition we wouldn't mention the name of the church and that the interview be filmed at CBS. Our request to film on church property was refused.
Was there something lacking in your spiritual upbringing that made you seek a newer religion as opposed to one of the older established religions?
No, I don't think there was a lack of anything. I think there was a desire within my heart to find a living awareness of God in myself, and to have some form or method, a way that was enlightening to me, and that made me extremely happy and satisfying, fulfilling, to serve God and to serve my fellow man.
His mother and father, Marilyn and Charles Malik, tried to persuade him to leave the church. Finally, they enlisted former cult members to kidnap and to program him. They failed.
You eventually arrived at a decision to take your son, against his will, to try to have him deprogrammed. It must have been a hard decision.
It was horrible, and no parent should have to be faced with that decision. It's like finding out someone has terminal cancer, and you believe that maybe there's a hope in some kind of alternative treatment, and you're willing to risk everything to do that.
Do you think they'll ever accept it?
I don't know.
Do you want them to accept it? I mean, do you care, really?
It's not that I want them to accept it, if they would respect the fact that I do have a different way and a method for which I believe and contact God. And
when you say contact God,
we chant or decree to invoke the presence of God.
And what is decree?
Example of a decree is to Saint Michael, who is the guardian angel of protection. And when I get in a car, I'll simply go, Lord Michael before, Lord Michael behind, Lord Michael to the right, Lord Michael to the left, Lord Michael above, Lord Michael below, Lord Michael, wherever I go. I am his love protecting here. I am his love protecting here. I am his love protecting here.
And you feel that protects you?
Yes, when it's a heartfelt contact with Archangel Michael, and you have a visualization, and your mind is actively involved in invoking that protection, there's an action that takes place in one's being.
It's just that type of thing, the action that takes place in one's being, that concerns Father James McGuire, who talks to Catholic high school students about the cult experience and how many are recruited.
And I would say the numbers of former cult members that I've talked to, almost to a person, they have said they did not know they were joining a cult at the time. But that the kids who talked them into it were nice kids. They spoke well, they looked well, they had the same interests, the same ideals. And of course, if they're under mind control, they think they're doing it in a certain sense in pleasing God.
Father McGuire's message to nearly 30,000 students is that no matter how strong their faith in Catholicism, they too are susceptible to deceptive recruitment and mind control. And by no means is it a problem confined to Catholics.
In the last 8 to 10 years, the Jewish community has lost to that kind of involvement 50 to 60,000 children. That's about an eighth of a generation for the Jewish community.
For the last 10 years, Rabbi Stephen Robbins of Temple Emmanuel in Beverly Hills has been lecturing and counseling families about the cult problem.
The phenomenon of membership in cult-type groups is generally white, middle-class, highly educated, and highly mobile. And the majority of people that go into cults tend to come off of college campuses. What's happened to, I believe, mainline religions across the board in America, not simply Jewish, but also Catholic and Protestant, is that we have become so institutionally bound that we have lost touch with the person, with the individual in society.
Rabbi, if you, as a representative of your institution, have failed these children, if you have not and are not meeting their needs, then what is wrong with them going to a so-called New Age religion, as they call it, or a cult, as you would call it, to satisfy those needs?
The question is not my failure, or if there is in fact a failure, but the question of whether or not the people who are going in fact are making a choice, if they in fact know what is happening to them, if they are prepared and understand the demands that are to be made upon them.
If they were to have told me that I would be fundraising for 12 hours, 18 hours a day, that I would be constantly out recruiting for members and this and that, I wouldn't have joined. But nobody joins a cult. You're at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you're deceived.
This is a cult clinic in Los Angeles offering help in the form of shared experiences and professional counseling. Although it's run by the Jewish Federation Council, it's open to former cult members and families of all religions.
I wanted to leave so badly that it got to the point where I said, God, if you exist, and if there is a God, send the deprogrammers. You know, I pray for the deprogrammers. I wanted to leave that badly.
How long were you a member of the cult?
I was a member for 2 years.
My husband is involved in a cult, and it's a cult that is heavy on giving of your possessions and your money. So I couldn't live with him anymore. He was more intent on tithing 20% of his salary. It was part of the rules of belonging to this group that you are to give this money, which is God's money, you know, to the group. And,
Has it generally been the experience of people here who have family members in a cult, or as they call them, a New Age religion, that once they become associated with that group, that their personality changes?
All I know is from my sister, before she went in, there was a wide range of emotions that she had, which I thought were very healthy and very good, you know, and since she's been in, there's not that range, and it's, you know, well, I've heard people say there's a wall, but for my sister it was almost this like iceberg effect. She wasn't real. And I guess that's what I don't like about the cults, is that you take a person who is alive and a real person, and it's like they're a robot now.
Do you think they're happy?
well, this is what puzzles me. They always say they're happy. They write to everybody they're happy.
When I used to write to my parents, I had to make it sound happy so that they wouldn't be worried, even though deep down in my heart, sometimes I was going through a time, very difficult time in the cult. I was considering becoming a nun before the group. But if someone makes that decision, they know what they're going into. They know that they're going to have to be reading the scriptures, that they're going to be enclosed, that they know what they're in for. And in these groups, you don't know. It's deception.
How do they deceive you?
This technique that they used, this love bombing, this friendship. At that time in my life, I was going through a stressful time because of final exams. My social life was secondary, and my friends were slowly not calling me. It was just, pretty soon they weren't calling me, so I needed a friend at that time, and believe it, the cults give it. My life was not mine. My life was not in my hands. I could not choose. I had to ask permission to go visit my parents. I couldn't just walk out of the center and when I felt like it, go visit my parents. I had to ask permission. Ask for everything. I couldn't decide on anything. And so that's a form of deception.
We have no deceptive practices whatsoever in our faith. If people are interested, you know, we have free public lectures. We announce to the public that we're having a lecture, and it's known who we are and what we're talking about before anybody comes.
I believe that he is under total mind control. Everything in their teachings, they immunize you in every sense of your 6 senses.
What is your greatest fear for your son? What concerns you most?
Mental damage.
You essentially feel then that they have control of his mind.
Absolutely.
And your responsibilities and your will have not been surrendered to
Absolutely not.
any individual.
Absolutely not.
We should point out that in the room during this interview, just out of camera range, refusing to be filmed, was a church official. In fact, each time we met Malik, that same official insisted on being present.
You can do whatever you want to do,
That's true.
when you want to do it.
When I want to do it.
Could you walk out the door of this church today and never return?
That's correct.
Are you able to communicate with him now?
No. He, see, one of the methods they use is if you call where they're at, they have only one number, and they'll always give you some reason why he can't come to the phone or you can't talk to him. Or we've been told that we are not welcome or not allowed on their property.
But Mrs. Malik, doesn't your son have the right guaranteed by the Constitution of this country to choose a religion?
I certainly believe that he has that right, but it makes me damn mad when somebody messes with his mind in order to keep that belief going, to continue to maintain control over him, to manipulate him, to take his dreams, his goals, his family, his mind. And when they continue to do that, something's wrong.
I'm very willing and open to reunite with my family if they will quit attacking me directly and attacking my church. And nobody should stand in sympathy with a judge or a jury or a parent deciding what should be in one person's mind. And if they are in that state, they might as well be Soviet guards.
I don't know how we compromise to be with each other, because there's nothing I'd like more in the world than to hold him in my arms.